The Dallas superstar is currently pulling off hardwood magic this league hasn't witnessed in ages. Things have escalated so wildly that Michael Jordan himself actually broke his silence.
The monster no one can stop.
Yet the mainstream media is missing the real hook here. This historic tier isn't random. A massive hidden saga fueled this fire, ranging from intense courtroom showdowns to dropping completely illogical video game statistics every single night.
I'll be revealing it all. Wait till you hear the full quote from Michael Jordan, because this might be the most powerful statement the GOAT has made in years, see? The version of Luka we are seeing right now? Boy, oh boy. That is not a guy.
We are watching an athlete treat the hardwood like a psychiatrist's couch, while his off-court reality spirals into chaos. Anyone glancing at the stat sheet spots the insane production. Yet, studying his actual court presence reveals a totally unmatched, darker driving force. It feels as though he is battling personal demons, using basketball as his sole emotional release valve. Recall that opening footage from
beginning of this video where MJ said Luka has become an unstoppable monster? I need you to keep that in your head, because that wasn't all MJ said.
We will drop the complete audio shortly, though clearly the Hall of Famer sensed the shift himself. Rather than skimming scorecards, he read the kid's gaze, recognizing the exact same ruthless, vindictive zone he entered when provoked. Touching on those ridiculous analytics, does anybody else feel like this recent stretch of basketball defies human logic? Seriously, the metrics are absurd. This guy posts 33.4 points, 8.4 dimes, alongside 7.9 boards. He sits comfortably at the absolute top, yet those rankings barely scratch the surface. To witness the actual turning point, examine his reaction the exact moment his broken engagement hit the tabloids. That March 6th clash with Indiana proved to me that his mental dam had finally burst. With King James sidelined, the rotation felt extremely vulnerable. Then, as if a primal trigger engaged, our guy chose absolute destruction, torching them for 44 across 3 frames, including a casual 22 right out of the gate. He kept burying jumpers while glaring relentlessly at their sidelines, looking ready to brawl the entire roster. Yet the most heartbreaking detail? Amid breaks in the action, he completely iced out his own locker room. Just parked on the pine, entirely consumed by internal thoughts, it was brutally obvious the guy was hurting deeply. That wasn't an isolated incident either. Come March 12th, he hung a 50-piece squarely on Chicago. Snagging 10 rebounds alongside 9 dimes, he sat just inches away from a historic 50-point triple-double. Watch other stars chase a half-century mark. It feels incredibly strained, practically begging for touches. Meanwhile, this maestro operated in pure, effortless rhythm. Racking up 17 during the third frame, he seamlessly piled on another 10, closing it out. Frankly, Chicago's roster appeared desperate for the final buzzer to escape the absolute clinic he was putting on. Move forward to March 18th down in Texas, where he casually exploded for 40, dished out 10 assists, finishing agonizingly close to yet another triple-double by a single board. How about his March 19th clinic down in South Beach? Man, that specific clash shifted everything. That masterclass compelled JJ Redick to literally label his outing an Avenger-level spectacle.
That kind of a night in the circumstances.
It was a superhero performance.
But even that sounds soft.
Honestly, though, calling it heroic feels like an understatement when you realize he dropped 60 on Miami's head. Get this. Dropping 60 pieces with 5 dimes in a single matchup is a club with just 5 dudes ever. Plus, he is the lone Laker to drop 60 since the Mamba's legendary farewell. Let that sink in for a second. Bean went for 60 as his ultimate swan song. Meanwhile, Luka drops 60 because his personal world is burning down, leaving hoops as his sole escape. The man is currently riding an unreal wave of 9 consecutive 30-point victories. We are talking all-time league history here. Forget Mike, Bron, or Kobe, it is Luka alone at the top. Over his last 7 outings, he has stuffed the stat sheet with 250 buckets, 50 assists, and 50 boards. Honestly, we are witnessing more than elite hoops. My guy is using rival squads as his personal punching bags. Anybody standing in his path is basically signing up for absolute demolition. Yet, to truly grasp why Jordan called him an unguardable force lately, we need to dive into the brutal off-court disaster unfolding with his former bride-to-be. While everyone on TV kept hyping up his insane box scores, an actual battle was raging 6,000 miles away inside a legal system overseas. The details are completely wild. Picture dedicating a full 10 years, essentially your entire youth, constructing a future with your partner, then watching it burn to ashes in a maternity ward while fans still demand a championship parade in LA. We are not looking at a standard Hollywood gossip split here.
Some messy TMZ breakup. This was a cold-blooded, multi-million-dollar attempt at extortion that has officially deleted the happy Luka we used to know.
Everything genuinely hit the fan on December 6th, 2025. He had just jetted overseas for the arrival of baby number 2, Olivia. For any new dad out there, that moment ought to be absolute paradise, yet it spiraled into a complete train wreck. Rumor has it cops were dispatched to the Crunch maternity clinic because he tried taking his firstborn, Gabriella, stateside to actually co-parent properly during the season. However, his ex totally shut that idea down on the spot. It is mind-blowing to imagine standing in that exact room right after welcoming a newborn. Rather than popping champagne, you are battling law enforcement in the corridor over custody of your own flesh and blood. He ultimately walked out solo, booking it straight to California for a matchup against Philly. Try wrapping your head around the mental focus required to post 30-point triple-doubles following that trauma. Yet somehow, that pales in comparison to rumors stating that since tip-off this past September, the guy has literally spent a mere 2 days with his little girls. Suddenly, using the hardwood as a therapy session to vent his rage checks out completely. This run is not about chasing hardware or league honors right now. He hoops because the floor is literally his only safe haven where he pulls the strings. Beyond those sidelines, lawyers are drowning him in filings. Want to hear the wildest part? His former flame allegedly planned this entire ambush. Get this, she bypassed the usual domestic separation routes back home. Instead, she targeted the West Coast legal system directly to secure her child support bag. Break down that chessboard move for a second. Neither of them are American. The toddlers reside overseas, yet she submitted papers in Los Angeles to exploit their notoriously generous family laws. Translation, she is eyeing a slice of that $165 million franchise payday, not standard European compensation. The real kicker? Her monthly asking price sits at a staggering $115,000. Listen, this was absolutely a calculated long game to drain his assets right during his absolute prime. But his mother, Miriam, stepped in as his shield. Word on the street says she guided him through that legendary Hakimi maneuver. For those who missed that viral story, he is the footballer who transferred his entire estate to his mother, leaving his former partner with zero leverage. Meaning, officially, his personal net worth looks shockingly light right now. The two athletes were literally laughing about the strategy online together. The tragic part here is watching the joy completely vanish from his face night after night. We remember the kid joking around with officials and just soaking up the great energy. Today, he is transformed into the ruthless assassin Mike described. He even confessed recently that the court is his sole sanctuary. That type of mindset should absolutely terrify the rest of the league.
Superstar can say. This is exactly why that statement Michael Jordan made hits so differently now. And like I promised, here's the full thing.
Her betrayal essentially forged an absolutely unstoppable machine, which perfectly highlights my theory regarding how those two legends share incredible parallels. Mike never extends brand deals based purely on clout or basic statistics. He targets athletes who share his violently obsessive drive to completely dominate. When the Dallas Stars secured that sneaker contract back in 2019, critics simply assumed it was merely a tactic to dominate overseas retail sales. Yet deeply analyzing the recent praise from the GOAT tells a totally different story. The signature moves and wild statistical achievements were completely irrelevant here. He selected the Phenom after recognizing a genuine kindred spirit. That rare genetic trait where basic victory is not nearly enough. Your main goal involves utterly humiliating any opponent standing nearby. Number 23 stands as the sole individual globally who genuinely grasps this intense pain, having pioneered the art of weaponizing profound grief against the association. Just let that concept sink in. This current 2026 Revenge Tour perfectly mirrors the 1995 Chicago experience. Historically speaking, Returning from profound family tragedy meant entirely skipping pleasantries upon his hardwood return. He ruthlessly sought his crown using pure, unadulterated fury that completely shook the sports world. Our modern superstar currently shares that identical dark mental zone today, channeling the intense courtroom drama and his forced family estrangement directly fuels an elevated plane of athletic focus we rarely ever witness. The Hall of Famer explicitly noted that this specific obstacle serves as his ultimate Detroit rival. While Mike aggressively battled legendary bruisers, today the main hurdle involves a domestic dispute seriously threatening his bank account. This profound personal struggle has successfully triggered greatness totally unseen since the final championship run of Chicago in 1998. Prepare yourselves for a highly controversial take right here. Honestly speaking, this current era absolutely confirms he surpasses peak King James completely. Hold on, just let that sudden anger pass. Just calmly analyze the actual facts. The Akron native required stacked rosters alongside media spectacles to secure rings while breaking legendary records. Meanwhile, our guy individually hauls a disastrous Los Angeles roster toward top standings while navigating absolute domestic hell. No super team was required for him to hang 60 on the board. All it took was the perfect spark to ignite his absolute fury. What's wild is how the Jordan label is fully embracing this villain era. Did you catch the technical breakdown for the upcoming Luka 5S? His Airness personally instructed the footwear team to insert a specialized end-to-end zoom strobel. Plus, they added that fresh ISO bond material explicitly engineered for his deceptive deceleration and acceleration. Yet his current application of that hardware? It stems from a mindset that transcends simple basketball, morphing into absolute methodical destruction. Having the greatest of all time praise him is one detail. However, other Hall of Famers are waking up to the reality that this isn't a temporary heater, it is a complete metamorphosis. Listening to the private conversations from icons like Johnson and Green regarding this terrifying form, it becomes crystal clear that the entire association is doomed. The legendary architect of Showtime took to social media recently to declare him the single most unstoppable offensive force he has ever laid eyes on. Let that sink in for a second. That man battled Jordan, Larry, and peak Abdul-Jabbar, yet claims this current run tops them all. The guy is operating in a different stratosphere. Furthermore, the current generation's voices are echoing the exact same sentiment. Green jumped on the mic recently, confessing that even if Los Angeles throws out disorganized defensive schemes, it is completely irrelevant. His exact words were that possessing one of the most elite floor generals from the past 3 decades instantly transforms the purple and gold into a lethal out against any opponent across a 7-game matchup. Period. Add in the fact that our guy is performing like an absolute maniac. The level he has reached lately is nothing short of breathtaking. Funny enough, the entire squad is clicking perfectly because an elite maestro elevates every single teammate on the hardwood, which forces the inevitable question, what is their ceiling in the postseason? Half my brain assumes they might flame out early. However, my basketball intuition tells me a completely different story. We praise the superstar, yet nobody is discussing the incredibly grim reality bubbling underneath the surface here. He is currently sharing the court with an older King James, a veteran desperately conserving every ounce of gas remaining in his tank for one last legendary push. This dynamic has inadvertently turned our protagonist into a lone wolf. We are witnessing a bizarre solo mission where he genuinely believes he must single-handedly shoulder the franchise's entire burden. Watch how he brushes off timeouts and relentlessly seeks out his own offense. The circumstances have birthed a toxic independence where relying on teammates is no longer an option. That exact brand of extreme solitary pressure is what eventually snaps a competitor's sanity. And that breaking point? We watched it shatter on March 21st amidst that wildly chaotic altercation with Goga Bitadze. Forget your typical on-court chirping. The guy was literally vibrating with pure, unadulterated fury. Post-game pressers revealed that his opponent was running his mouth in Serbian, spitting venomous threats regarding his loved ones that are truly sickening, disgusting promises to ruin his entire household. The absolute most gut-wrenching aspect of those horrific slurs, as noted during the presser, was how the insults were weaponized in his mother tongue, purposely chosen so the officials would be completely oblivious. It was a calculated psychological attack, digging into deep personal wounds just to trigger a massive reaction. That is beyond dirty. It obliterates every unwritten boundary of professional sportsmanship. Jawing at opponents is fine. That mental warfare belongs on the hardwood. However, attacking a father's household is unforgivable, especially when he is fighting relentlessly just to see his kids. This guy is actually penning his little girls' names across his sneakers every single night, just to show how much they are missed. His kids are his entire world right now. Cross that line, and you unleash a beast who gives zero thought to the fallout, which perfectly explains the absolute chaos surrounding his 16th tech. The guy fully understood one more call meant an instant ban. He was well aware Los Angeles required him active to lock down the third seed. Yet in that split second, none of it mattered. He was fully prepared to trash the entire campaign just to send Goa a brutal message about keeping his kids out of it. But the wildest piece of this puzzle is going down completely off screen. Front office whispers claim that ever since the split, the superstar has morphed his body in ways that defy logic. He shed serious weight, flipped his nutrition upside down, and reached peak stamina. Yet the driving force behind this is purely tragic. A trainer revealed he grinds until 2 in the morning simply because his house is empty. He feels trapped, making the association his sole punching bag. Still, as wild as this 2026 tear appears, he is hardly the initial phenom to turn courtroom drama into hardwood dominance. Dive deep into the basketball archives, and you will spot a clear pattern when personal demons spill onto center court. Take the 2010 Wade saga, which perfectly mirrors this current Los Angeles spectacle. That ordeal was way beyond a standard ugly divorce. He got locked into a brutal 102-page custody nightmare against his teenage flame, Sayavan Funches. The venom in that split was deeply unsettling. We are looking at a legal war stretching out for seasons, featuring worldwide tabloid bombs about transmitted infections. The sheer madness kicks in, knowing these stood as massive smears. He dropped millions to crush and expose as absolute fiction. So while our guy marks an O for Olivia on his kicks nightly, Wade spent 2010 inside a Chicago tribunal fighting for access to his own children. Things spiraled so hard by 2012, authorities literally cuffed his former partner for trying to snatch the youths after she flat out denied boarding them on a Father's Day flight to Miami. Picture carrying that mental burden while standing as the ultimate icon for South Beach, gearing up for Game 4 of the championship against Oklahoma City, while receiving frantic updates about vanished youngsters and a detained ex. Any average dude would completely shatter. Yet he weaponized the hardwood as a sanctuary, dropping 25.5 a night during the heaviest drama, knowing attorneys could not touch him for those 48 minutes. He secured full guardianship in 2011, emerging utterly ruthless and precise, exactly like our current star. Flash over to the Tony Parker and Eva Longoria catastrophe from late 2010. That wreckage played out like pure cinema, since San Antonio's favorite son got busted when his superstar actress wife discovered endless illicit messages sent to Aaron Barry. The sickening plot twist? Aaron happened to be married to his literal locker room brother, Brent Barry. And there is no way. Just picture that toxic locker room atmosphere, stepping onto the practice court fully aware your own squad views you as a traitor. The press corps was absolutely salivating to dig his grave. Yet his stat line refused to dip. Instead, his production completely skyrocketed. In fact, the exact evening those separation documents hit the courts, the point guard torched Chicago for 21 points and 7 dimes, dragging San Antonio to a massive victory. His nightly average jumped from 16 to 17.5, fueling a 61 victory campaign that completely dominated the Western Conference. The guy was operating with a chilling swagger, practically screaming that despite nuking his own household, absolutely nobody could check him on the hardwood. Step away from basketball, and you see golf legends like Tiger Woods navigating that exact same storm. By August of 2010, the icon's marriage officially dissolved, following a brutal public dragging that torched roughly $100 million in endorsements, a mere 72 hours post-signature. He marched into the Barclays tournament and fired off a flawless 65, marking his greatest outing of the season. Dropping that massive legal burden visibly breathed new life into his swing. This entirely validates the philosophy Michael Jordan always preached. Whenever the courtroom dust settles and a superstar accepts their domestic life is gone, they evolve into a terrifying force. The motivation is no longer about family affections. It becomes a vicious crusade to reestablish themselves as the ultimate alphas of their game. Take a look at Chris Humphries for another flawless case study. Following the collapse of his notorious 72-day reality star union, the forward became the biggest joke in athletics. Yet, rather than fading into obscurity, he secured personal bests, logging roughly 14 buckets and 11 boards nightly. Jordan insists that devastating heartbreak engineers a true beast. However, does seizing global supremacy justify sacrificing your real-world anchors? It really makes you question if his airness had it figured out, or if securing that legacy validates returning to a lonely mansion. Which brings me to my question for the chat. How does this excuse Luka embracing his dark side? Or did he cross a line? Furthermore, could devastating trauma truly be the ultimate cheat code for unlocking absolute greatness?